They say women are a mystery, but here's the truth most men will never hear. Women have predictable emotional patterns, soft spots in their psychology that, once understood, give you an edge in communication, attraction, and influence. This isn't about manipulation. This is about understanding, because power comes from knowing what others don't. This video is for the man who refuses to stay clueless. This is Top 10 Female Weaknesses Every Man Must Know. Let's begin. 1. Emotional validation. Addiction. Whether she admits it or not, most women have a subtle addiction to emotional validation. In simple terms, they crave attention. Not just any attention, but attention from a man they respect. She might say she doesn't need a man. She might say she's independent. But the truth? A woman thrives on being emotionally recognized. When it comes from a man she secretly wants to impress. Why do you think social media is flooded with selfies, stories, filters, likes, and indirect captions begging for someone to get it? It's not because she's bored. It's because she wants to feel seen. Here's the kicker. If you're too available, your validation becomes cheap. The more you give it away, the less it means. But when you're selective, when you offer it sparingly and genuinely, it becomes a drug she can't get anywhere else. Use this wisely. Don't feed her ego. Touch her soul. 2. The chase. Thrills her more than the catch. Most men assume women want commitment right away. Truth is, the part that pulls her in hardest is the mystery, the chase. When a woman feels like she's earned your time, your interest, your attention, it rewires her brain. See, attraction isn't logical, it's chemical. Dopamine, the pleasure neurotransmitter, spikes during uncertainty and anticipation. That means, the more unpredictable and layered you are, the more emotionally addictive you become. She wants to figure you out. She wants to wonder, why didn't he reply immediately? She wants to obsess, what is he doing right now? If she's always sure about you, if she never has to wonder, she mentally moves on. Men who are overly eager, texting non-stop, oversharing in the first week, they kill the mystery before it even begins. But the man who stays purpose-driven, focused, slightly detached, he's magnetic, not because he's playing games, but because he has something better to do than chase. And that makes her chase. These first 2 weaknesses are just the beginning. Once you master emotional validation and the psychology of the chase, you're no longer operating on the surface. You're speaking directly to a woman's subconscious. In the next section, we're going to unlock 2 more triggers that most men never notice. But the ones who do, they never go unnoticed. 3. Emotional storytelling. Hooks her brain. You know what instantly sets apart an average man from a high-value one in her eyes? His ability to trigger her imagination, not with facts, but with feelings. And nothing stirs her emotions like a good story. See, women are emotion-driven processors. They remember how something made them feel, not necessarily what was said. When you talk to her, if your words are flat, factual, and logical, she might nod, but she won't remember you. But tell her a story with emotion, with tension, with struggle, with triumph. Now you're living rent-free in her head. For example, instead of saying, "Yeah, I had a rough childhood," say, "There were nights I fell asleep to the sound of my parents arguing, and I promised myself I'd never live like that." Now, that's a moment. That taps into her empathy, her curiosity, her instinct to connect. It's not about being dramatic, it's about being real, with emotional weight. Women love layered men who have depth and experience, who've been tested and came out tougher. When she senses that emotional tension in your stories, she leans in. That's why charismatic men, speakers, and leaders have women magnetized. Not because they're the richest or the best looking, but because they make her feel something she can't explain. So, learn to speak from the heart, not just the head. 4. Confident detachment. A man who doesn't need her. One of the deepest female weaknesses is this. She wants to be wanted, but not needed. And most men mess this up. When a woman senses that your happiness, identity, or self-worth depends on her response, she instantly loses respect. Neediness suffocates attraction. Why? Because it places all the emotional power in her hands. And deep down, she doesn't want that. She wants to feel chosen by a man who is already full, who doesn't seek her for completion, but who offers his time and energy because he chooses to, not because he's desperate. You have to embody this idea. I like you, but I don't need you. My life is already full. If you want to be a part of it, cool. If not, I'm still good. This is called confident detachment. It doesn't mean you're cold or arrogant. It means you're emotionally independent. And that's rare. That's gold. Women test men for this all the time. They'll withdraw slightly, delay a reply, act distant. Why? To see how you react. If you chase harder, if you beg, if you spiral emotionally, game over. But if you stay calm, focused, unbothered, you've passed the test. And she feels a strange sense of respect. She doesn't want to carry your emotions. She wants to follow a man who can carry his own. At this point, you're beginning to see the pattern. Women aren't drawn to what society tells you to become. They're pulled to a man who understands emotional dynamics, who leads calmly, and who knows when to step back. The friend zone. Blind spot. She respects boldness, not safety. Let's clear something up. Women don't friend zone men because they're too nice. They friend zone men because they're too safe, too predictable, and most importantly, too afraid to make a move. You might think being the dependable guy, the always there guy, the listener, the helper, will eventually pay off. But to her, that's emotional comfort, not romantic excitement. Here's the secret. Comfort is not attraction. A man who doesn't risk rejection will never earn desire. Why? Because she's wired to respond to courage, to a man who's bold enough to express desire without apology. You want to know what weakness lies beneath most women's surface? It's this. They long to be pursued with strength, not politeness. They'll never tell you this directly. In fact, they might test you by pretending they want to just be friends. But deep down, they want to feel chosen, wanted, claimed by a man who isn't seeking approval, but who expresses attraction without fear. The guy who dances around his feelings, waits for the perfect time, and never makes a move, he's labeled as safe. And safe is boring. Now, don't confuse this with being aggressive or inappropriate. This is about owning your intentions. You see her. You feel a spark. You lead with confidence and clarity. That directness, that masculine energy, it activates her feminine instinct to respond, to evaluate, to feel something. But when you hesitate, she'll fill in the blank with someone else. So remember, be bold or be forgotten. 6. The alpha mask. She's powerful in public, but soft in private. Modern women are independent. They're career-driven, ambitious, successful, and self-reliant. But behind that exterior, many of them carry a secret longing, a craving for emotional safety and surrender. You'll notice this especially in women who dominate in their careers. They've had to become hard, assertive, even cold, just to survive in a world that respects only masculine energy. But the weakness? They deeply desire a space to let go of control, not in public, not at work, but behind closed doors, with a man strong enough to handle their softness. If you treat her like a queen 24/7, bowing to her success, always playing it safe, you never access this hidden vulnerability. But when you stand your ground, when you stay grounded in your masculine essence, calm, non-reactive, and present, you become that space she secretly wants. She might argue with you, test you, challenge you, not because she hates you, but because she wants to feel your emotional weight. She wants to know, can he handle me? Will he fold or will he lead? And when you pass that test, the same woman who's a boss to the world suddenly becomes feminine, affectionate, and soft in your presence. So never be intimidated by her status or strength. Behind that armor is a woman waiting to feel safe enough to be soft. Now, we're cutting deeper. You're not just learning how to attract women, you're learning how to see behind the mask. Most men never get this far. They're stuck reacting to the surface. But you're learning to respond to what's beneath it. Next, we're going into 2 more psychological triggers, one rooted in jealousy and the other in female competition. Both can unlock emotional intensity if you understand how to activate them. 7. Jealousy. Triggers. Emotional investment. Most men avoid making a woman jealous, thinking it's manipulative or risky. But what they don't realize is that jealousy is one of the most primal emotional triggers in a woman's psychology. When triggered properly and ethically, it can actually heighten her desire for you and push her to invest emotionally. Here's why. Jealousy tells her, you're valuable. It forces her to confront a question she may have been avoiding. What if another woman takes him? That question is a biological alarm bell. It creates urgency, doubt, curiosity, emotion. Suddenly, she's looking at you differently. Suddenly, she's noticing what she ignored before. You don't need to flirt with other women to trigger jealousy. In fact, that can backfire and make you seem immature. What actually works? Being socially magnetic and respected by others. Having female attention around you that you don't chase. Staying calm when she tests your boundaries or pulls away. Showing that you can walk away and be just fine. That confidence, that self-worth, it makes her wonder, who else sees what I'm starting to see? And just like that, the competition switch flips. Here's the weakness. Most women are more afraid of losing your attention than they'll ever admit. So, don't use jealousy to play mind games. Use it to maintain your value. Let her know, subtly, that you're not just wanted. You're wanted by others too. That's when you stop being an option and start being a prize. 8. Female competition. Her deep fear of losing to another woman. You've seen it happen. A group of women walk into a room and instantly assess each other. Who's the prettiest? Who's the most confident? Who's getting the most male attention? This isn't superficial. It's evolutionary. For thousands of years, women have competed for high-value men. Not just for love, but for survival, protection, and status. That competition instinct still exists. Even the most evolved woman feels tension when another attractive woman enters the picture, especially if that woman seems to catch your attention. Here's the hidden weakness. A woman is highly influenced by how other women perceive you. If women admire you, respect you, or are drawn to you, it amplifies your social value in her mind. It's called pre-selection, a principle backed by evolutionary psychology. So, what should you do? Be seen with high-value women without flaunting it. Speak well of other women, but never compare. Stay calm and grounded when women compete for your time. Let her feel the subtle pressure of other women noticing you, but without you acting desperate for it. Why does this work? Because it activates a scarcity mindset. She starts thinking, if I don't claim him, someone else will. And now, attraction isn't optional, it's a race. When a woman starts to compete for your attention, she invests. When she invests, she commits. And when she commits emotionally, you've already won the game that most men never even knew existed. By now, you've unlocked 8 powerful insights into female psychology. From emotional validation to pre-selection, you've gone far beyond surface-level advice. 9. Core insecurity, the fear of not being enough. Behind the filtered selfies, the confident walk, the witty replies, many women carry an invisible wound. A quiet, constant whisper that says, I'm not beautiful enough, not interesting enough, not worthy enough. Even the most attractive women wrestle with this fear. In fact, sometimes the more validation she gets from men, the more hollow she feels inside. Why? Because most men validate her body, her appearance, her charm, but not her soul. Here's her weakness. She wants to be seen for who she truly is, not just what she shows. And the moment you become the man who sees beyond her beauty, who listens instead of just looking, who challenges her instead of chasing her, you become unforgettable. This doesn't mean you coddle her insecurity. It means you give her the rare gift of truth and presence. You speak with intention. You notice her mind, her values, her contradictions. You ask questions that dig beneath the surface. And when she tries to test you with distance, drama, or silence, you don't get reactive. You stay calm, grounded, focused. That energy tells her, I don't need your perfection. I value your truth. And when a woman feels seen in her truth, flaws, fears, and all, her guard melts. She stops performing and starts trusting. And that trust? It's the doorway to emotional intimacy most men will never access. So, stop trying to impress her. Start trying to understand her. That's what she really craves, but won't dare say out loud. The legacy weakness, her desire for a man with vision. You can have the looks, the charm, the money, but if you don't have direction, purpose, a vision bigger than yourself, You'll always feel like something's missing in her attraction for you, because at her core, a woman is deeply drawn to one thing above all, a man with a mission. Why? Because it makes her feel safe, inspired, and part of something lasting. Most men chase women, but the rare man, the one women chase, he's chasing legacy, he's building, he's leading, he's moving forward, with or without her. And that energy is irresistible. Here's the truth. A woman doesn't want to be your mission. She wants to join you on your mission. And when she sees that you have one, she'll drop her guard and offer her deepest loyalty. She may resist at first. She may test your focus, pull you off track, or beg for attention. But if you stay grounded, if you return to your path every time, she'll follow you anywhere. The weakness? She longs for a man whose life has meaning, with or without her. Because then, and only then, can she feel safe surrendering to him? So stop living just to impress women. Start living to fulfill your calling, and watch how they begin to orbit around you, effortlessly. Conclusion: reclaiming the edge. Narrator: now you know. These aren't pickup lines or tricks. They're the raw truths that most men never learn. You've seen her emotional patterns. You've felt her unspoken fears. You've exposed her deepest psychological blind spots, from emotional storytelling to confident detachment, from jealousy triggers to legacy leadership. These 10 weaknesses aren't to be exploited, but understood. Because once you understand them, you stop chasing women and start attracting them naturally. You don't become bitter. You become stoic. You don't get desperate. You get disciplined. And in the silence of your strength, she starts leaning in. This is the stoic path. This is the rebirth of masculine energy. Now, it's your move.